So much good stuff in this episode, including video best practices, email marketing, company culture. But first, probably the most interesting job choice anyone has had to make coming out of college, work at the CIA or work at NASA. That's the first question I ask my guest, Lisa Jones. She is the CEO or Chief IMail Officer of IMail, spelled EYEMAIL. Enjoy. Hi, Lisa. How are you? Great to see you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy because I'm spending time with you, John.
Thank you. That's the nicest response to my hello I've had. Um, so, Lisa, I want to start off here. And we all have some super interesting or important job choices in our lives. Yours is maybe the most interesting that I've ever heard of. Out of college, you were choosing between NASA and the CIA, which is a really cool and probably difficult choice. Tell me about your your work experience and your college experience prior to that and your approach to starting a career coming out of school.
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Montgomery, Alabama. And in school, I thought about in high school, like what should I do to prepare for college in advance? And so my father suggested that I apply at McDonald's hamburgers. And that was my start from the age of 16 to 21. So for 5 years of my entire life, I was at McDonald's. But it was so valuable looking at that experience initially. Why? Because it taught me interpersonal skills, the importance of communication and communicating effectively. It taught me the importance of multitasking and even upselling, right? You want shake fries with that shake or whatever it was at the time, right?
Right.
So I learned all of these
Supersize it.
important aspects of business, how to maintain inventory, how things have to happen in succession. So I carried that forward even in college, thinking about how do I make decisions and what I'm going to do next. So I attended Alabama A&M in Huntsville, Alabama, and my BS undergraduate was in logistics and procurement and an MBA in marketing management. So, in that career field, I was thinking, what am I going to do with logistics and procurement? I've always been fascinated by planes and the logistics of how you can check into a flight, have your baggage, and then it arrives at the destination. So that whole process, I used to totally be fascinated by it. And so I applied in college for over, I don't know, maybe 200 different applications. At that
Wow.
time, it wasn't online where you send it at a computer per se. At the time, it was like I was mailing them out everywhere. And I was thinking, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And I thought about NASA and I thought about Mae Jemison as the first African American astronaut in space. And
Mm.
I saw her in this orange suit. That was so cool. But she was smart and brilliant. And I was like, wow, that would be interesting to support logistics at NASA. And then I thought about, I've always been a person that likes to explore and observe, and I always had a different perspective of thought, train of thought. So I thought about, well, what if I were to apply for the CIA or to start in an initial program. So I had to fill out, of course, all of these applications, and I made the screenings. I made it down past 6, 7, 8 screenings, and then you had to take a test. I passed the test. I flew up to Virginia, Langley, Virginia, had the interview, and this happened in the midst of me still being in transition because I graduated college, but I was still
Wow.
in that summer working at McDonald's trying to figure out, well, where am I going to go next? And look at the law of the universe and God that I received both offers from NASA and the CIA within a 2 week period of time.
Wow.
Yes. And so when I weighed the variables out, John, I thought about it and I said, well, what do I really want to do here? What do I really want to do? And NASA was closer to my family, and I thought about my long term career. And so ultimately, I chose NASA.
Wow, what an amazing story. And I'm curious if I try to think of an organization that my perception is that it would be as different as possible from McDonald's, it would be NASA. My impression of NASA is a very meticulous culture. And what is that true? What did you learn at NASA, and how did you carry that forward through the remainder of your career?
Yes, NASA is very meticulous. And I want to mention one of the transition points was because literally on a Friday, I ended up leaving, of course, McDonald's to transition to NASA. So it's like I started on a Monday. And I remember in my train of thought thinking at the time, did I belong? Was it my season? And we all go through that at
Mm,
some point in time, whether or not we verbalize it or not. And I had to really soak in that, yes, it is my season. Yes, they chose you for a reason and you're up for the task. What I learned at NASA is that it's a culture of excellence. It's a
mm,
culture of exploration and adventure, of new
mm,
beginnings. Never to make assumptions. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to experiment. And all of these variables that I'm talking about now are what hold true in my company forward. But it's also about accountability. Who's responsible for this task? What's the project line? Are we meeting our deadlines? Are we ahead of schedule? Every single component of a project, small and large, are all viable and valuable.
Yeah, and I want to get to your company iMail in a moment,
Hmm.
but before I do, I feel like we have to talk about the time that you spent between NASA and iMail. You spent some time at, if people are following like the merger and acquisition train, Bell South, Singular, AT&T. I guess it was probably all one company, but changed names and so on. You worked on supplier diversity. Can you explain the role that you had and like what the purpose of the department was, what your role was, and then what did you learn in that role about the networking and the importance of finding change agents through that experience? When we were talking offline, you used that expression, so I wanted to ask you about it.
Yes. So in my transition from NASA, and then I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and I moved into the telecommunications area. Within Singular Wireless, Bell South Mobility, Singular Wireless, and AT&T, I started off in infrastructure management and
Mm,
progressed to supplier diversity. Within supplier diversity, the purpose of supplier diversity is to serve as a liaison, a gateway to support minority and women-owned businesses with opportunities to connect with buyers and internal procurement stakeholders to introduce their business, to give them a way to further connect versus just making a cold
mm,
call that may or may not be acknowledged. So I really enjoyed that role because I had an opportunity to meet so many amazing companies from around the world. And to be able to travel and to go meet them, to see their facilities, to be at trade shows, just various aspects, but to learn about their business and why their business is different and how can your business support our business at Singular Wireless and AT&T, for example. So yeah, that was my career there. Now, what was the second part of your question on that?
well, when we were talking offline, you were talking about um, you're talking about the importance of what you learned about networking and finding change agents through that experience.
Absolutely. In thinking about, of course, when you're in a visible role like supplier diversity and you meet all of the contacts from around the country, everyone ultimately in business, we're seeking to get our products and services in front of others. And so I would
Totally.
get like 300 emails a day from suppliers who were interested. And this is part of how I started the company too, because I said, how do you stand out from the clutter? If I met someone
Mm,
that's a printer, how do you stand out from printer number 28 or 108 that I receive? And there needs to be a differentiator. And when I
mm.
talked about change agents and their role, they're so vital. In every business and every corporation, there needs to be a change agent. And the reason there needs to be a change agent is because we need people in the world that challenge the status quo. Wouldn't you agree with that, John?
Absolutely. No
And that
question.
promote a new way of doing things, that are open and willing to experiment, because experimentation is how you learn. And it's taken me years to fully embrace that. There are a lot of people that are risk averse, but it's so amazing having change agents because they help navigate and guide you in the journey to adopting new ways and new technologies for growth.
So yeah, so that's a great segue. New technologies, new ways of communicating. I think your company does that. You're the CEO of iMail, which makes email more engaging through video. And I'm a CMO, so a lot of people want to sell me stuff. I I receive literally hundreds of emails a day,
Yes.
and like what's going to stand out to me. It could be an interesting title, could be could be the first sense of an email might be interesting, might be who's sending it to me, but then also how do you engage me, how do you have me in that first couple of seconds want me to do something else. So maybe talk about the concept of the company, how you started it, and then what sort of where you've gotten to today.
Absolutely. So iMail, and it's spelled Eyemail. So iMail is a patent pending marketing communications technology that enables video up to a full 60 seconds to automatically play in email and mobile, to increase engagement and to deliver storytelling moments in the email inbox. I started iMail, in my case, as I mentioned, my corporate career, and I was thinking
Hmm.
about the longevity of my corporate career. I thought about, what do I want to do as my next chapter? Sometimes in life, things happen that help you redefine your roadmap and trajectory. In my case, I mentioned that I'm from Alabama. I had received a phone
Yep.
call one morning that my mother had passed away at home alone at the age of 61. And I remember the impact that that had on my life. And I said, what am I going to do with my next chapter? How can I create a legacy in her honor and to create a product that's inspiring and global? So when I came back to Atlanta, I thought about communications and how important communications are. So I said, well, how do we communicate? We communicate verbally, non-verbally, in writing. What else do we do? We email people.
Hmm.
Well, who do we email? Internally, externally, in one click, it's anywhere in the world. And I wouldn't have inventory. So I said, you know what? Maybe I'll start an email related business. But first, I need to research. So I signed up, John, for 150 different brand emails. Anything you can imagine is probably in my inbox right now. But this is long ago. I signed up for
Hmm.
150 brands. Now, why did I do that? I did that because in order for me to be successful or to understand the game plan, I need to understand what is in the market today. And out of those 150 brands, 146 of them all delivered the same experience. I did not feel special. I did not feel inspired to take that next step for a call to action. All of them had a static graphic. It was just static, or a
Right.
hyperlink. Like for me, for take my time to click a hyperlink to go to a website, and then I have to click again, on the landing page. And we
Yeah.
all know that attention spans are short, right? And so we all like instant gratification. So when we think about the fact that on any given day, according to Forrester's research, we receive 120 emails or more every day.
I'm a little
Yet,
more.
you said
Yeah.
100, so you even get more than that for sure. But yet, 73% remain unread. So the question becomes, how do we all, as brands, as individuals, stand out from that inbox clutter? And that's where iMail has been very successful in developing a technology so that when that video delivers, as soon as they open their email, to see you or to see your company's brand and story deliver in 60 seconds or less. And when it delivers, it's only 15 kilobytes. So here's another problem solved, John, where there are people sending attachments and links and things that are large file sizes, for example, in the attachments. When an email delivers, it's only 15 kilobytes and it's able to penetrate to deliver to the email inbox. And that's something we're very proud of. We are partners with Microsoft, and we were in their innovation lab where we work with senior architects on iMail's technology roadmap. And that's been an invaluable experience to us because it's helped us to continue to grow and to soar. And we're proud of the fact that we supported the launch of Windows 11 with iMail, as well as their Teams for Life program and Kids Mode. But all of these initiatives went out to over 30 million
Wow.
viewers in the launch. And so for iMail to be a part of that and to see our journey has meant a lot to us and our global team.
Well, congratulations on all of that.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure a bunch of marketers are listening to this, sort of interested in, yes, how can I get my open rates, my engagement rates higher? How can I actually connect with my customers or prospects? And in earlier episodes of this podcast, we've talked about best practices for video. I'm curious your take on that question. What would you recommend to someone that wants to create a video in their sales material to make the most impact? Like, I'm sure there are a bunch of things and it's unique for every situation, et cetera, et cetera. But like, if someone wants to start, what would you recommend as putting someone in the right frame of mind to create the most impact in a video?
That's a wonderful question. My thought process behind that is to bring your authentic self and to find in your authentic self to be engaging. All right. Because if you're taking up my time in the inbox, then you need to deliver something that makes me want to learn more or to engage. So I would say, one, working on what is the message, what is the story that you're seeking to share with your audience, delivering that in an authentic way. But I would say it would be more than just me talking or the person talking that sales. It would be showing aspects of the business, right? It could be showing the
Mm,
office. It could be saying, this is why our solution is world class, and putting the
hmm
bullets of why you're world class. Why should I engage with your organization? And then I would have the call to action buttons on that campaign that would go to either learn more about our services or book a demo, but having those call to action buttons or even contact us, but having those
hmm
visible. And I would say this too, when we think about newsletters to me are like so 80s only because um, they're so long. We want readers to start at the top, then they got to scroll down below the
hmm
fold line, then they got to scroll down. Their eyes have to follow all these tracks. Why would we do this to our customer base? It is our duty and responsibility as marketers to simplify the process so that our customers and audiences engage. So the idea of having a central theme of if you want to have a newsletter, is to make it simple and clean, but to have the video at the upper portion because that's where our eyes are going to go. And we're visual
mm.
learners for the most part. People say that it's millennials. It's not just millennials. We all prefer to have instant viewership and visual cues that deliver storytelling moments. So that would be my pointers there.
I like the concept of less is more in terms of the amount of text and content. I
Yes.
mean, even some of the newsletters that I receive that I really love, I'm like, oh, okay, I need to dedicate 10 minutes to this, and I can't do that right now. And then maybe I don't read it. Like the content has to be really great. When we were talking offline, one of the things I like to get into in this podcast is company culture, and I was asking, I think, like about your team's culture, and how COVID impacted you. And I recall, I think you were saying you've always been fully remote, and actually you have a really diverse team in terms of a bunch of ways, but also in the number of countries. I think you have coworkers and iMailers in 7 countries. How do you make your culture work with all of that? Folks at different time zones, different perspectives, not meeting each other in person all that often. How do you make it work?
Well, for me personally, as the chief IMAIL officer, I am responsible for making sure that alignment works. And I thought about that for a long time when I first started the company is what type of company um, do I want to have IMAIL represent? I knew it was going to be global. That was my thought process there. And the way that I manage it for some aspects is I average about 18 hours a day where I'm up 18 hours a day on these different time zones. But
Mm-hmm.
collectively, we actually have offices here in Atlanta. In Atlanta, Tech Village is our home.
Hmm.
It's the fourth
Oh,
largest
okay.
tech hub in the country. So we have offices here, but for our remote team, of course, that are in these 7 countries, so we have them in Sri Lanka, in the Philippines, in Canada, Pakistan, India, and they're all over Africa. And so what we're able to do, of course, through the power of technology, is to align at a set time, multiple days of the week,
Hmm.
where we're all on Zoom or Teams together, and we're able to exchange. And what I found, I love the aspect of having a diverse global team. Diversity is part of my DNA, and it's part of our corporate culture. Because at that point, to your point, having diversity, we're able to bring together different perspectives, different cultures together, different ideas, so that when we service our global customer base of Fortune 500 customers, they're not only getting one perspective, they have the entire team that is focused on the delivery of delivering value, global value. So we have team members, John, that are from the ages of 15
Oh, wow.
to our most senior team member is 78. So the thought leadership, and thought leadership can come at any age. I learn a lot of things from a 15, 16-year-old, as well as they learn from the 78-year-old and the entire team
Hmm.
that's in between. But it's so amazing and refreshing to be able to share perspectives, to think, wow, I can learn something from this person or that person. And I think that's where we thrive. We thrive on communication and authenticity and being open to ask questions. There are no stupid questions, and just keeping that dialogue going, and knowing that everyone has a voice. A voice is very important to be heard. And that's one of the things that we say here at iMail, that we believe that your messages deserve to be seen, heard, and felt. And the same as with our corporate culture here at iMail is we're focused on our team and delivering global value for our customers.
That's amazing. And I love that. I love that phrase, that snippet that you use internally. And
Ah,
it feels to me, sort of synthesizing our conversation, that you've spent your career on connections, and connections seem to come really naturally to you. And like, whether at AT&T was connecting companies to AT&T, or now you're creating partnerships with companies that enable them to connect closer to their end users. When you think about, like, what makes a partnership successful, two folks who didn't know each other before, who are coming together in a business transaction, what do you see as a common thread in making those successful, whether it's a company, a culture, a partnership?
what I've seen over the journey of my career, um, even recently, it's a continual theme, is number one, seek to be interested in someone else. To be authentically interested, not just to wait for them to finish talking so you could just talk about your business or what your interests
Hmm.
are. Getting to know someone, to build the relationship versus the sale, right? Spending that time to know, like, what do you like to do? Do you have children? Do you travel? Are you part of an organization, a nonprofit? But investing the time to connect on multiple levels, I think is key in building relationships, to know that it's not going to happen overnight. That's one. Um, so listening more and being interested in someone else. I would also say delivering excellence when an opportunity is available and two people are networking or seeking a way to deliver value where there's an opportunity, or where you see an opening to create an opportunity. Being open to that. I think one of our success factors at iMail, when I'm interviewed or on a panel, they always ask, Lisa, how are you able to secure a Porsche? How is iMail able to secure Porsche North America or PepsiCo or Microsoft, etc.? And so what I share with people is that it's all about the relationship building that we're talking about. But when an opportunity opens, it's about being prepared. So
Hmm.
when opportunity meets preparedness, it equals success. So if I can ensure that I understand the customer, taking time to understand the customer's needs is important in that equation. So when you take time to understand that and then determine how you can deliver value, and you're able to meet with that customer, then you're able to create a successful partnership. I've seen that. And I would also say, John, it's very important as our mothers and fathers taught us very early on, it's very important to be kind.
Absolutely. You know, I feel like when you were giving this, I wanted to go back full circle to the beginning of our conversation. We were talking about listening before a sale. I was like, uh, the CIA is regretting that you didn't take their job at the beginning
Aw,
because you could have been recruiting foreign assets and
I love it.
all of that spy game stuff. Lisa, if someone wants to find out more about iMail, what should they do?
For anyone that would love, I would love to hear from you as the CEO, as well as the company. If you would like to reach out, by all means, feel free to visit us online at imailinc.com. Of course, that's EYEMAILINC.com. You can also find us on social media as iMail Inc. That's the INC part. For me personally, I would love to hear from you. As if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm Lisa S. Please put the S Jones on social.
Right on. Well, Lisa, so great to talk to you today. Thanks so much for joining the pod.
My pleasure, John. Thank you and your audience so much for taking the time to listen. And it's been a pleasure to be on your platform.